Alright, so welcome to chapter 3. We'll be looking at cybersecurity threats, vulnerabilities, and attacks. So we'll look at malware, malicious code, deception, and attacks. Let's look at malware and malicious code. So there are different types of malwares. So normally we will just call them viruses, but it's important to understand that a virus is only a type of malware. Right, so viruses is a virus is a malicious executable code that is attached to another executable file, so such as a legitimate program. So you might want to download an application from online or download a game or something. So a virus is usually attached to the setup file, which is .executable, which is .exe. All right, then we have worms. So worms are malicious codes that replicate by independently exploiting vulnerabilities in network. Alright, so worms usually slow down networks where viruses requires a host program to run. So worms can run by themselves. So other than the initial infection, worms no longer require user participation. So we also have Trojan horses. So a Trojan horse is a malware that carries out malicious operations under the guise of a desired operation, such as playing an online game. So this malicious code exploits the privileges of the users that runs it. So a Trojan horse differs from a virus because the Trojan horse binds itself to non-executable files such as an image file, audio file, or game files. We also have the logic bomb. So a logic bomb is a malicious program that uses a trigger to awaken the malicious code. So for example, triggers can be date, times, other programs running on detection of user account or deletion of a user account. So the logic bomb remains inactive until that particular trigger happens. So once the trigger has been activated, the logic bombs implements its malicious codes and causes harm to the computer. Then we also have ransomware. So ransomware holds computer systems and data it contains captive until the particular target remits a particular amount of money, and the um, threat actor will send a key to decrypt the computer system files. Okay, so we also have backdoors and rootkits. So a backdoor or rootkit refers to the program or code introduced by a criminal who has compromised the system. So the backdoor bypasses the normal authentication used to access the system. So a rootkit modifies the operating system to create a backdoor. So attackers can use the backdoor to access computer remotely. All right, there are email and browser attacks. So when you look at emails, okay, and browser attacks, we talk about spam, spyware. So spam could be recorded as a junk email, and some of these email service servers, all right, or services or service provider, email service provider, already have spam filters, all right, to detect spams whenever they come into your mail. So in most cases, spam is a method of advertising. So, however, spam can send harmful links, malware, or deceptive contents. Then there's something called the spyware. So, spyware is a software that enables a criminal to obtain information about a user's computer activities. So, spyware often includes activities tracker, keystroke collection, and data capture. So, in an attempt to overcome security measures, so spyware often modifies security settings. Then there's also something called the hardware. So hardware typically displays annoying purpose to generate revenue for its authors. So the malware may analyze user interests by tracking the websites visited. It can then send pop-up advertisements pertinent to those sites. Alright, so we also have scareware. So scareware persuades the user to take a specific action based on fear. So scareware forges pop-up windows that resemble operating system dialog windows. Another type that is common with emails is phishing. So phishing is a form of fraud. So cyber criminals use email, uh, instant messaging, or other social media to try to gather information such as login credentials or account information by masquerading as a reputable entity or person. So phishing occurs when a malicious party sends a fraudulent email disguising himself as a legitimate um, individual from an organization. Then there's something called spear phishing. So spear phishing is a highly targeted phishing attack. So while phishing and spear phishing both use emails to reach the victim, spear phishing sends customized emails to a specific person. Then there's also something called the vision. All right, so vision is phishing using what voice communication technology. So criminals can spoof calls from legitimate sources using voice over IP technology. So victims may also receive a recorded message that appears legitimate. Then there's something called farming. So farming is the impersonation of a legitimate website in an effort to deceive users into entering their credentials. Then there's also whaling. Whaling is a phishing attack that targets high profile targets within an organization such as senior executives. Still under mail and browsers, we have plugins. So the Flash and Shockwave plugins from Adobe enable the development of interesting graphic and cartoon animations that greatly enhances the look and feel of the web page. So plugins display the content developed using appropriate software. We also have SEO poisoning. So search engines such as Google work by ranking pages and presenting relevant results based on users' search queries. So depending on the relevancy of the website content, it may appear higher or lower in the search results. So SEO, which is the short for search engine optimization, is a set of techniques used to improve a website's ranking by a search engine. So while legitimate companies specialize in optimizing their websites for better positioning them on ranking on search engines. So SEO poisoning uses the SEO to make a malicious website appear higher in search results. So, for example, imagine searching Gmail on Google and another website appears other than mail.google.com. We also have browser hijacker. So, a browser hijacker is malware that alters the computer's browser settings to redirect the user to websites paid for by the cyber criminal customers. So browser hijackers usually install without the user's permission and is usually part of a drive-by download. So whenever when you just open a website and sometimes some things just automatically download. So we also have deception. Let's look at deception. The art of deception could involve social engineering. So social engineering is a completely non-technical means of for a cyber criminal to gather information about a target. So social engineering is an attack that attempts to manipulate individuals into performing actions or divulging confidential information. So social engineers often rely on people's willingness to be helpful, but also prey on people's weaknesses. So these are some types of social engineering attacks. It could be pretexting. So pretexting is when the attacker calls an individual and lies to them in an attempt to gain access to privileged data. So example involves an attacker who pretends to need personal or financial data in order to confirm the identity of the recipient. Then something for something, which is quid pro quo. Alright, so this is when an attacker requests personal information from a party in exchange for something like a gift. Shoulder surfing and dumpster diving. So it actually refers to picking up pins, access code, or credit card numbers. So an attacker can be in close proximity to his victim or attacker and use binoculars to closely circuit cameras or closely circuit cameras to shoulder surf. Right, so that's just like peeping over the shoulder of someone's of your victim in order to look at his password when he's inputting it on his phone. So impersonation and hoaxes. So hoaxes. Impersonation is the action of pretending to be someone else. Right. For example, a recent phone scam targeted taxpayers. So a criminal posing as an IRS employee, alright, told the victims that they owed money to the IRS. We also have piggy banking and tailgating. So piggy banking occurs when a criminal tags along with an authorized person to gain entry into a secure location or a restricted area. So tailgating is another term that describes the same practice. So when you are just following someone inside an office, usually see that in movies a lot. Just following the person, taking the turns the person take, and hiding so that the person will not see you. That's tailgating. So we also have online email and web-based trickery. So forwarding hoax emails and other jokes, funny videos, and non-work related emails at work may violate the company's acceptable use policies and result in disciplinary actions. Let's look at attacks. So there are different kinds of cyber attacks that can occur in an organization, and one of them is DOS, denial of service attack. So DOS are a type of network attack, or is a type of network attack that results in some sort of interruption of network service to users, devices, or applications. So DOS attacks are a major risk because they can easily interrupt communication and cause significant loss of time and money. So these attacks are relatively simple to conduct, even by an unskilled attacker. So this reduces availability of an organization's service. So another is sniffing. So sniffing is similar to eavesdropping on someone. So it occurs when attackers examine all network traffic as it passes through their network interface card. So independent of whether or not the traffic is addressed to them or not, criminals accomplish network sniffing with a software application, hardware device, or combination of both a software application and a hardware device. Then there's also something called spoofing. So spoofing is an impersonation attack, and it takes advantage of a trusted relationship between two systems. So if two systems accept the authentication accomplished by each other, an individual logged in into one system might not go through an authentication process again to access the other system. There's also something called man in the middle. So a cyber criminal perform a man in the middle attack by intercepting communications between computers to steal information across crossing the network. So a cyber criminal can also choose to manipulate the message, alright, to change the message, alter the message, or alter the data, alright, and relay false information between hosts, since the hosts are unaware that a modification to the message have occurred. So man in the middle allows the criminal to take control over a device without the user's knowledge. Then another is zero-day attack. So it's sometimes referred to as a zero-day threat, and it is a computer attack that tries to exploit software vulnerabilities that are unknown or undisclosed by the software vendor. So the term 0 hour describes the moment when someone discovers the exploit. Then there's something called keyboard logging. So keyboard logger is a software program that records or logs every keystroke that the user inputs on his system. So cybercriminals can implement keystroke loggers through software installation on a computer system or through hardware physically attached to a computer. So the criminal configures the keylogger software to email and log file. So the keystroke captured in the log file can reveal usernames, passwords, websites visited, and other sensitive information. So there's also something called the grayware or smishing. So grayware includes applications that behave in an annoying or undesirable manner. So grayware may not have recognizable malware concealed within, but it still may pose a risk to the user. So grayware is becoming a problem area in mobile security with the popularity of smartphones. So smishing is a short for SMS phishing. So it uses what short message service to send fake text messages. The criminals trick the user into visiting a website or calling a phone number. Unsuspecting victims may then provide sensitive information such as credit card information. So visiting a website might result in the user unknowingly downloading malware that infects the device. Now, rogue access point. A rogue access point is a wireless access point installed on a secure network without explicit authorization. So a rogue access point can be set up in two ways, all right, and which is radio frequency jamming. So wireless signals are susceptible to electromagnetic interference. So radio frequency interface and may even be susceptible to what lightning strikes or noise from fluorescent lights. So wireless signals are also susceptible to deliberate jamming. So radio frequency jamming disrupts the transmission of a radio or satellite station so that the signal does not reach the receiving station. Then there is something called the blue jacking and blue snapping. So bluejacking is a term used for sending unauthorized message to another Bluetooth device. So blue snapping occurs when the attacker copies the victim's information from his device. So this information can include emails and contact lists. Then we also have wired equivalent private attacks. So WEP is a security protocol um, that is attempted to provide a wireless local area network with the same level of security as a wired local area network. So since physical security measures help to protect a wired local area network, so WEP seeks to provide similar protection for data transmitted over the WLAN with encryption. So WEP uses a key for encryption. So there is no provision for key management with WEP. So the number of people sharing the key will continually grow. Then we also have WPA, which is Wi-Fi protected access, and then WPA2, Wi-Fi protected access version 2. So they came out as improved protocols to replace the wired equivalent privacy. So WPA2 does not have the same encryption problems because with WPA, because the attacker cannot recover the key by observing traffics. So WPA2 is susceptible to attack because cyber criminals can analyze the packets going between the access points and the legitimate users. So cyber criminals use a packet sniffer and then run attacks offline on the passphrase. Defending against wireless and mobile device attacks. So there are several steps to take to defend against wireless and mobile device attacks. So most wireless products use default settings. So take advantage of this basic wireless security features such as authentication and encryption by changing the default configuration settings. So you change your SSID, you change your passwords. So restrict access points placements with the network by replacing these devices outside the firewall or within a demilitarized zone which contains other untrusted devices such as email and web servers. So wired local area network tools such as NetTumbler may discover rogue access points or unauthorized workstations. So develop a guest policy to address the need when legitimate guests need to connect to the internet while visiting. So for authorized employees, utilize a remote access virtual private network for WLAN access or wired local area network access. Then cross-site scripting, XSS. So cross-site scripting is a vulnerability found on web applications. So cross-site scripting allows criminals to inject scripts into web pages viewed by others. So this script can contain malicious code. Cross-site scripting has three participants, and the criminal, which are the criminal, the victim, and the website. So the cyber criminal does not target a victim directly. Cyber criminal exploits vulnerability within a website or web application. So cyber criminals inject client-side scripts into web pages viewed by users. So those users are the victims. Then code injection attacks. So one way to store data at a website is to use a database. So there are several different types of databases such as structured SQL, structured query language database, or extensible markup language database. So both XML and SQL injection attacks exploit weaknesses in the program such as not validating database queries properly. Then there's something called buffer overflow. So buffer overflow occurs when the data goes beyond the limit of a buffer. So buffer are memory areas allocated to an application. So by changing data beyond the boundaries of a buffer, the application accesses memory allocated to other processes. So this can lead to a system crash, data compromise, or provide escalation of privileges. So we also have remote code executions. Remote code execution vulnerability allow a cyber criminal to execute malicious code and make control of a system with the privilege of the user running the application. So remote code execution allows a criminal to execute any command on the target machine. There's also another one called the active X controls and Java. and Java controls. So they provide the capability of a plugin to Internet Explorer. So ActiveX controls are pieces of software installed by users to provide extended capabilities. So third parties write some ActiveX controls and they may be malicious. So they can monitor browsing habits, install malware, or keylog strokes. So ActiveX controls can also work in other Microsoft applications. Java operates through an interpreter, and Java Virtual Machine, the JVM, enables the Java programs functionality. So the JVM sandboxes or isolates um, untrusted code from the rest of operating system. So there are vulnerabilities which allow untrusted code to go around the restriction imposed by the sandbox. So defending against application attacks. So the first line of defense against an application attack is to write solid code. So regardless of the language used, this or the source of outputs outside inputs, prudent programming practice is to treat all inputs from outside a function as hostile. So validate all inputs as if they were hostile. Keep all software, including operating system and applications, up to date and do not ignore update fronts. So not all programs update automatically. So at the very least, always select the manual update option. Right, so we've come to an end of this chapter. So we looked at different vulnerabilities, different types of cyber attacks. We looked at what some attacks are focused on. Right, so like the denial of service, phishing, the spear phishing, right, the vision, and several others. So, and lastly, we discussed about the vulnerabilities presented by application, right, and we understood the types of possible threats that allows an organization to identify the vulnerabilities and make um, it a target. And we also know now that the organization can then learn how to defend itself against cybersecurity trickery and maneuvering.